What's up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name's Scythe, and yeah, I'm sitting down because we gotta have a little bit of a serious talk. No, but seriously, this video might actually take a couple days before it ends up coming out. I'm recording this on Sunday. It's 7 in the morning right now. Started up my computer. I was just about to get busy and get ready for work and everything like that, and then blue screen of death. It's done. Try to restart the computer. It says that my RAID 10, which is like a bunch of hard drives all connected, it's failed. It doesn't connect. It doesn't start. Oh no, my computer's dead again. And it's got nothing to do with the video card. Now it's actually my hard drive. So that's a little bit of a bigger issue to try and deal with. Hopefully it's just something as simple as a software error or whatever to do with the RAID 10. But my dad and I are going to be trying to figure this out as quickly as possible. Hopefully going to be able to get everything up and running nice and quickly, because while I do still have a couple scheduled uploads, if you don't already know, you can actually upload videos to YouTube and then you can schedule and tell YouTube, this is the day and this is the time that I want this video to go public. So because of that, I do have a couple videos spanned out throughout this week, but there are certain videos that I was actually going to be recording hardcore this week, like Maple Story, Spiral Knights, and Trove and stuff like that. All of these videos and series are going to catch up real fast, and suddenly there's not going to be any more of them coming out every day. So Goblins and Grottos is one that I've got quite a few episodes stocked up just because of how easy that game is to record. You know, every time I record that game, I do it in like a few episodes a session, right? But anyways, needless to say, gonna be dealing with this all day. Hopefully be able to resolve it as quickly as possible. And I guess I'll just kind of keep doing another daily vlog thing like this and just kind of take the camera throughout the day. But this might be the course of a couple days here, folks. So that's the other thing too, is I don't really want to put up another video that kind of gets people in a panic saying my computer's dead, because of how quickly it may or may not end up being resolved. So that's why I'm going to be doing this video as the definitive, it might be a week and so everyone will be wondering what's going on, and then suddenly this will show up and just let you all know what's going on. But either way, I'm going to make myself some coffee now and get back to it. Alright everybody, it is now 12 hours later. Yes, that's right, this little project of trying to repair my stupid computer ended up starting at 7 in the morning, and now it's 7 at night, and it's still not done. So let me see if I can try and summarize the day as quickly as possible. A couple hours go by in the morning trying to troubleshoot the problem and find out exactly what's going wrong in the first place. Find out that the RAID 10 is malfunctioning. I did explain this earlier, but what the RAID 10 essentially means is that I had 4 hard drives that were all acting as one. There's a couple advantages to this. One, it's faster because information is spread across 4 hard drives instead of one, so the information can process that much quicker. 2 is that if one of the 4 hard drives ends up crashing, you can replace it with another hard drive that is of equal size, and the other 3 hard drives are going to transfer all of the data back onto the 4th hard drive. Therefore, you end up saving any of the information that would normally have been lost if it was just one hard drive that ended up dead. But I'm digressing. A few hours later of trying to find out what exactly the problem is, and then we find out that it's the fact that 4 hard drives aren't talking to each other. So what can we do to resolve it? After going into the BIOS countless times to try and see what exactly is causing the problem, eventually we just give up and say, I guess we're going to have to install Windows onto my backup hard drive. My big hard drive is essentially the one that has all of my YouTube files on it. I don't want Windows on that hard drive because I don't want it to mess with any of my precious files. So thankfully, even if I do have to end up deleting a lot of the stuff off of my main hard drives, it just means another full day of reinstalling 5 million different programs and files and stuff. I gotta reinstall my video software, I gotta reinstall my recording software, yada yada yada, not to mention all of the games. Thankfully, I have most of those programs already backed up as soon as my computer started working in the first place. Because if you didn't already know, I had an issue where one of my video cards ended up dying recently, and this is actually just so happens to coincidentally be happening around the same time where now my hard drives are dead. So we've got to install Windows. A couple hours go by just casually trying to look for my Windows activation key, only to find out that it was on the side of my computer in microscopic size. But that's okay, because throughout searching the entire house for a box that had some of my computer information on it, we ended up finding the Windows installation disk. Now this is going to come into play a little bit later. First and foremost, we had my Windows product activation key. Because of it, we were able to re-download
download Windows. We throw that onto a USB drive, and then we try to have that USB drive start and boot off of my computer first. It doesn't end up working, and then we realize, oh wait, what is this? We have to change it so that it's a bootable USB. Don't exactly remember how to do that, so we go to the lovely internet. The first website has us go into the command prompt and do a bunch of junk and computer code and matrix stuff to actually get it to be bootable. We try again. For some reason, it's still not working. So we look online again. A second website has all the exact same commands as the first website, plus a couple others. Turns out that the first website was missing some essential commands. So whatever, we get that to work. Windows starts asking, where do we want to install? But that's funny. None of the hard drives are being recognized. Not even my big fat backup drive. A few more hours just whisk away for no reason, trying to find out why exactly it wasn't recognizing them. On top of that, the USB, for some strange reason, stops booting. So scrap the USB, we just start using my Windows disk. And we just so happen to find out online that we had to go into the BIOS and tell it to stop trying to boot from the RAID and instead boot from AHCI or something like that, from the SATA. It's a bunch of computer numbers and letters and nobody cares. So now we're in business. Now we're actually getting to the Windows installation folder, and it's actually recognizing all of the other hard drives. But before we end up going through with that, because I don't really feel comfortable putting Windows onto my big fat backup hard drive, we end up restarting the computer one last time and going into the RAID setting. As soon as we go in there, it hits us with, BAM! Your RAID has degraded, but we can rebuild it. It'll be stronger, faster, and maybe not poop, but you need to sacrifice your gigantic backup hard drive. Not gonna end up doing that, so instead we go into one of the other settings that ends up letting us format, or I wouldn't say format. It's more that we had the option to disconnect any of the hard drives that we wanted from the whole RAID process. Now suddenly it's saying that we can still rebuild it, and now we can rebuild it onto these other hard drives that you just disconnected. And this is where things get funny, because now the RAID doesn't say degraded or failed or anything like that. Now it says that it's rebuilding. But it's odd because it doesn't seem like it's actually doing anything. Another hour or so spent online trying to find out why exactly it's not rebuilding, and while there was no actual direct answer, near as we can tell, the RAID could only rebuild while the computer was running, meaning that we had to have Windows running while the RAID was going to be rebuilding itself in the background. Now that doesn't really help, because the RAID's where Windows is in the first place, you stupid computer. So rip, we go back to trying to install Windows. This is where my cousin Daniel ends up coming into play, because earlier in the day he already said if you're gonna be installing Windows, you're gonna want to deattach all the other hard drives except for the main one. Now before we go through with all of this, because I didn't want to install Windows onto my backup drive, instead we ended up taking another hard drive that we just happened to have that had a whole bunch of music and audio files and stuff like that, which it's okay, we already had those backed up onto 2 hard drives, so we just formatted this first one so that we could end up installing Windows onto that. Unplug all the other hard drives and hey, suddenly it actually recognizes it and Windows is installing as we speak. And that's gonna be it for today, everybody. While this video is still going to be a lot longer than this, it's going to have to continue tomorrow. At least tomorrow for me. For you, it's gonna be instantaneous. Because I'm tired, exhausted, and honestly, I don't want to deal with this anymore. But it has to be done, because this is my life. Thankfully, things are looking up, and it does look like we're gonna be able to install Windows on this other hard drive, start the computer, and then maybe plug in the other hard drives and start seeing what's actually ticking. What's going wrong with the RAID? Is my whole backup drive going to be crashed as well, or is that just working fine? So on and so forth, whatever. I'm gonna have more information for you as it develops. Alright everybody, it is now day 2 in the journey to recover my computer. While I do have things kind of in order and I'm starting to reinstall most of my programs and stuff like that, I got some bad news and then I've got some terrible news. First I'll hit you with the bad news because that's what's going to affect all of you immediately. This whole ordeal and everything that's going on here affected my hard drive, so this is a much more serious issue than what ended up happening previously with my video card. So how does this affect all of you? It means that it's going to take a longer time for me to get everything in order. I'm going to focus my attention on getting at least 1 video out a day, but don't be surprised if some of your favorite series take a little bit of a back seat for a while I get everything back in order. Starbound, my file is erased, so I'm gonna have to start from scratch and find the time to get up to where we were previously. Same with Goblins and Grottos. Thankfully, most of the games that I'm playing are multiplayer online games, and because of it, lots of my files are just, you know, it's online online. Like, there's no local file save. The other parts that are going to affect you is the quality of the videos might be down for a little bit because I don't have any of my presets anymore for rendering. This means that I have to essentially go through the arduous process of manually trying to remember and find out through trial and error what exactly were the settings that I was using that ended up being both optimal for myself in rendering time as well as good quality for YouTube. The terrible news is that I lost years worth of resources. I have 2 backup hard drives where I back up all of my YouTube stuff, or at least as much as possible, right? And I made sure to back up all of my programs, all of my resources for thumbnails and stuff like that. But for some strange reason, the last time that I copied it all over and backed it up, I guess the computer decided enough was enough and it didn't actually bother copying it. This means that I have to download all of my programs from scratch online, which that's okay. That's not as big of a deal. The biggest part is all of the resource files that I had for thumbnails. Those were tons and tons of images that I collected over the years of backgrounds that I liked, or cropped out characters that I made, or fire, you know, that was transparent and stuff like that. Lots of this stuff is just gone forever. I'm never going to be able to find it again. The tedious aspect is that I also ended up losing all of my music files with all the public domain royalty-free music that I normally use in the backgrounds of my videos. While most of these are salvageable, again, I'm probably going to be missing quite a few of them in the long run and never get them again. Lots of them were from very obscure websites and very obscure YouTube channels that I don't think exist anymore. But on a positive note, my computer is running again, even though I lost like everything on my C drive. And thankfully, everything's online this day and age. So even when I installed Google Chrome, I just sign into my account and it automatically sets everything up in a nice overlay as to what I'm used to. It sets up all my favorites and everything like that. So at least I didn't lose something like that. Steam, I have all of my games organized so that I know which ones I'm running, which games I've already completed a video of and stuff like that. So I'll just have to reinstall most of them and get to the same location as any of my save files were. But again, most of the games are online, so it's not really that big of a deal. It is extremely disappointing that I lost so many resources because as a YouTuber and, you know, just it being my job to do this, that means that normally when I would make a thumbnail, I would know exactly the images that I had on file. So it made things a lot easier for me to create unique and different thumbnails. Now, while thumbnails in general are always hit or miss, the fact of the matter is that I knew the files that I had. Now all of that's gone. So it's gonna take me even longer to familiarize myself with the files that I do have or that I'm going to end up getting, etc., etc. And it's just gonna be a very, very long process to get things back in working order. And even then, we're never gonna be 100% again. It's mostly that we're gonna be moving in a different direction with some of this stuff. But as I said, the only parts that are going to affect all of you is you might see differences in the video quality. Not really though, because YouTube is YouTube, and a lot of videos are gonna take a long time to set up. MapleStory in general, I'm kind of dreading re-signing up for that because it's already very, very tedious to set up an account on the Korean server, let alone re-downloading the game and everything like that. It's not gonna be fun. So I'm gonna spend the rest of my day doing this and hopefully get this video out sometime soon, but there's probably gonna be a couple more updates before I end this one. Alright everybody, this is probably gonna be the last update video of all of this craziness that's been going on. It is now almost 3 p.m. and it seems like everything's working out. I was able to actually, from memory, get a lot of my backgrounds for thumbnails. Not a lot of them though, that's for sure, but hey, whatever, you know, I'm a positive guy. We're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm looking at my calendar here, and yeah, as far as this week is concerned, Tuesday is Spiral Nights. I don't have Trove for that day. I don't have Trove for any day of this week, actually, so I'm gonna try and rush that today if possible. But Spiral Nights is gonna be Tuesday, Goblins and Grottos is gonna be Wednesday, Thursday is gonna have Roblox and a Starbound video that I have already recorded. I've actually got Starbound recorded for a couple weeks, which is great because that gives me time to catch up to our single player file, and then you're just gonna see in a couple weeks it's gonna be like, hey, my computer was destroyed a couple weeks ago, right? Friday is going to be Spiral Nights, and I have no MapleStory and I have no Trove. Goblins and Grottos is good for a couple weeks. Excuse the printer sounds. Other than that, like I said, it's gonna be a heck of a process for me to try and get all of my settings and stuff like that, but that's just gonna naturally happen over time. I was able to recover, or at least kind of through trial and error of rendering videos through Handbrake, I was able to get some lossless footage to change it to constant frames. And this video is actually going to be the first test when I render something out through Adobe. Hopefully I've got everything all set up and ready to go, and this video isn't gonna look garbles and stuff. But on a positive note, we've got almost every file out of the way as far as getting Scarlet here. So we're gonna be sending those in. I gotta go to Staples and scan a bunch of files and junk like that today. And yep, you can bet your butt that in the next vlog video, I'm going to probably end up having an answer as to whether or not Scarlet was actually accepted out here for college and stuff. So fingers crossed, we're both very nervous about it. Wish us luck, and at least my computer's up and running again, even if I did lose like 5 million files and stuff. Anyways, thanks for watching, folks. Sayonara and stay epic.